Have you ever played Doritos Crash Course? If you have, then you'll probably know what I'm referring to. For those that don't know, Doritos Crash Course was a old Xbox 360 arcade game in which you basically competed against your friends with Xbox Live or ran across a obstacle course filled with different trials for you to get a great score. Essentially a run and get to the end of the level type game. It may seem boring, but believe me, it isn't as boring as it seems. Unless, of course, you get the DLC, which adds more to it. But that tangent aside, I'm not going on about DLC. I'm going on about what happened with something else, an extra hidden level within the game. You can find it pretty easily, and you can actually probably still do it even if you have it on the Xbox One. Unless, of course, it had been patched. I would hope it hasn't, given the fact that without it, there's no evidence to explain what happened throughout my playthrough. Nevertheless, I will tell you the story now. It was a normal day like any other. I was playing on my 360, for old time's sake, and I realized that Doritos Crash Course was the first game that came to mind, so naturally, I decided I'd play that instead. It was normal. I just did the USA set of levels and occasionally some European ones, which I then got bored of. And then moved on to the DLC ones, which I did have, but never really bothered to play on them all that much, given the fact that they were a bit too difficult and I wanted to practice some more, given the fact that it had been a long time since I last played the game. I then remember completing them in a random order, and then being instantly greeted to a new level. It wasn't on any of the DLC ones, it was on the USA section of levels, and I believe it was called something along the lines of knock knock, knock you out. The level consisted of, at first, a bunch of foam spikes, or at least that's what the texture looked like. There was also chained maces that were swinging from side to side, and when I got further through the level, around the midway section, I noticed that there was a lot more harder floors. No longer was I in the safety of the rubber floors, but in a metallic jungle, so to speak. The only thing I could really do was look around for a brief second to catch my surroundings. When I saw the crowd, in this backdrop, the crowd seemed to be more energetic, but also aggroed. The music then changed as well to a carnival Pop Goes the Weasel type thing. It was unsettling to say the least. I had to deal with this new music cue even though I hated it. Nevertheless, I got to the end of the level, and shortly after, another avatar came on screen, wearing a fancy suit. The avatar then grabbed my avatar as he grabbed one of the maces, and proceeded to start bashing him across the face with it, in a cartoonish manner, but still quite violently, as he then let my avatar go. The next and final level then started. Run. The name was just one word, but it didn't take me long to realize why it was called that. This time, some other avatars were chasing me. I knew I had to get out of there, so I ran and ran, but my character just wasn't fast enough. My avatar then got dragged in the sea of others. They then threw my avatar into what looked like spikes on the ground, but these weren't foam ones, they were metal. As my character fell down and got ripped apart by them, the camera shot up to the other avatars as they looked down at mine and smiled. All that I could really do at that point it was just look up at them, as they then walked off the stage. And with that, the level ended. I didn't have access to it after that, obviously, because it was then deleted from the game itself. Thus, I couldn't play it again. But every now and again, I still think back to that cut level, and why it showed up. I still don't know, though I do have faint horrifying dreams, or should I say nightmares. Sometimes, I'll be running from those avatars as they chase me. They get closer and closer each time, and I'm afraid that tonight may be the final time I race against these guys, because they've already gotten so close. I'm desperately trying not to fall asleep, but the temptation is just too much. I haven't slept for days on end, and I fear that maybe this may be the last time I'll ever stay awake. The only thing I can do now is just type this up. Not as just an interesting horror story, but as a legitimate fear that I have. Wait a minute. Something weird just happened. My Xbox, it turned on by itself.